You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Clay McGuire, where I feel like he's really dropping some hints as to what the reality is, because I'm questioning, and I think I just asked you on a recent episode, how close are we getting to this being Ponton's spot when we're opening up week one? While he will use the word competition, some of what else he says actually will still lead me to believe, and maybe I'm just thick-headed, or lead me to ask at least, Chris, is the competition actually over? Let's take a listen to offensive line coach Clay McGuire.
It's a competition thing. We want to have the best five out there, and as Zambrano, gets back into the mix and gets the reps that Ponton's got, we're going to play the best guy. Obviously, like I said, looking back on last year, honestly, probably should have started Ponton the last couple games of the year. I really think he probably was better than the guys we were playing and stuff like that. Definitely played very well in the bowl game for us and showed a lot of flashes of what he could be. And so very excited about him too as well. Obviously excited to see what he gets to, what he can do getting out there competing against other people. Obviously we've been going against our defense, 30-something practices now. Kind of know from a schematic standpoint what they're doing. Obviously they got really good players over there. So we've been getting to really compete against a high-level opponent every single day. So I'm excited to see what our guys can do against another opponent.
I know a coach is not going to say, hey, the competition's closed, but some of what he's saying regarding, man, wish we probably should have played him at the end of last year. And then the reps that he's gotten, what he's done with him, we know the potential he's got. I'm kind of wondering if maybe this is going to be a really difficult guy to unseat, barring something extreme as we move forward. First, today's episode brought to you by Rougiette. Boys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify brain stimulation and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in only 15 minutes. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege and use our code lockedoncollege to get 15% off today. That's rougiette.com/lockedoncollege, RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege, and use our promo code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information.
Yeah, I think you and I hear that the same way. I think that it may take quite a bit for Zambrano or anybody to, unseat him. And whether that's Ponton not playing well when the season gets going or an injury somewhere or whatever. And you certainly hope that Zambrano does get back, stay back, and pushes. That only makes the whole thing better.
Chris, what are we actually in with Zambrano? Like a week, or have we had a week and a half? 6 days or something?
I think probably a week. I think he's going to end up having a couple of weeks before the season of practicing and all that. But, again, you can't replicate 30 practices. You can't replicate like the win, your conditioning, and your cardio aspect of it. And
this is after a full season missed.
Yeah. It's been a minute since he's actually played.
So uphill already. I mean, it was going to be a challenge.
Absolutely. And don't forget, he was one of the top offensive line, portal additions for anybody out there. I mean, he was ranked. The folks that were looking at this and like looking at all the who was in there and all that. I mean, he's a top 5 or 10, offensive line transfer addition. So you just never know. And I hear Clay talking about should have played Ponton last year, maybe, and that would have been, in my opinion, over at left tackle, which is I think where he played in the bowl game because Caleb Rogers was at right tackle. And maybe the Colorado game would have been a bit different had they So that's why I also like Clay. He's willing to say, yeah, I mean, we had it do over again. This is, I would have done it different. Like,
what do you think kept that trigger from being pulled last year?
Great question. I don't know if it was, I don't know what Jacob was going on, what was going on specifically with him during those days and weeks. Yeah. If they just felt like, is he not quite weigh enough? Can he hold up? I mean, because he has added some. I mean, going back like 9 months ago, he's added, I would say, substantial weight for it's all. I mean, it's not like he's added 100 pounds or something, but I mean, I think he's probably added some meaningful weight that is probably puts him in a different spot to compete physically now compared to last year. The other thing that I think Clay points out astutely is that if he's holding up at right tackle against what he's going against on a daily basis and in scrimmages and the thing, I don't know if he'll see anybody anywhere near as good this season, at least in the regular season, than he's getting in practices, whether it be interior or edge guys or linebackers for that matter. I mean, I just think that he's seeing really talented humans coming at him, and his youth and inexperience is probably much more sharp now, and going through that live fire with what he's been going against every day. So I just don't, because you just think about some of the games you're about to play and some of these scary road games you're about to play. I mean, Utah may be a tough place to play, but it has nothing to do with their defensive line. That's not what makes them scary. It's in fact, it's the opposite. It's their O-line and their very mobile quarterback and the setting. But, I mean, Kansas State and Arizona State, they're not going to trot at you the Romello Height and David Bailey equivalents or the Lee Hunter equivalent. They'll be very good and solid, but this isn't. So I just try to put all that together and just say to you that, man, I mean, that should speak well, because he's really gone against it. And obviously if you got the respect to Clay McGuire, then I think that should say a lot. And we knew what kind of upside he had, but I think we're now entering the phase where he's starting to realize some of that potential. Because if he wants to be an NFL guy, he can do it. I mean, that's what you're looking at here, no doubt.
You've mentioned him in that context for a while. And of course, previously it's like, give me the name again so I can write it down, because he's not coming across the radar all that often, but maybe we're seeing him taking hold of that opportunity right now and seizing that carp, as they say. Chris, I know there's some carryover, and that includes the guy that actually snaps him the ball and one guard. But I'm wondering if maybe we're overlooking a little bit the chemistry between quarterback and offensive line as well. We've talked so much about the O-line among themselves. There's also a guy that they got to protect, and it's not, something that you want to do all that often. Hey, let's swap out 3 of the 5, 4 of the 5, or whatever in front of this guy as he goes into another year. So I know you're really looking to improve it, and change in personnel came with some of that. And you've got the center to quarterback connection still intact, but there's probably had to have been some of that time spent, I guess, between QB and O-line, because you got to have a feel for it, don't you, with what's happening behind you, I guess, if you're one of those big guys up front.
Yeah, I think I think we probably take for granted a little bit, like the Sheridan Wilson aspect of this team and that battery, if you will, with him and Barron. We probably don't talk about Sheridan enough, because I just think he's just solid, and he takes a lot on, and he's been a culture guy and all those things. But I think Barron, having gotten to work with a lot of this group, but specifically the center, I think is well worth mentioning as well, because they had 12 games together last year, and there's a lot of subtle nuance there between quarterback and center. And and I think Davion being next to, because that was what it looked like for a lot of last year. So there's just more to like than maybe, I guess maybe I just wanted to focus on what I thought it was going to be, and who's not quite available yet, and all those things. And you're just like, you just wish you had all your pieces, and like you could put, like, let's really see what's going on. But that's just not how how this is going, but I think you've settled into a really good starting five that I think Barron's been able to work with for all of August, large in part, and maybe some of the summer too, with what they were allowed to do, and maybe you'll be better for it. So maybe we should not, necessarily be as stressed out or worry about the O-line as much. But again, I will say too that it's still kind of a question until it's not. Now you've got some younger backs, and like there's some pressure on this offensive line and to protect their quarterback and open up some running lanes for some, inexperienced backs to a certain extent. And I wish I could quantify how much like Howard Sampson ultimately means. Like his presence, his ability to move, his size, his upgrade, like what's that worth to everybody else? And I wish I could is that in terms of like, well, I mean, he's so much better. It's going to give every play 1.5 seconds longer of protection or development, or it's going to, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to quantify that, but if I could, I would try, but I do think there's something there to say that his presence alone, I think, helps the whole thing. And because Clay talked a lot about Jados too, and how he's just been really good and gotten a lot better from the spring until now. And I think he's kind of solid because he's a big boy. I think they clearly hit on him and feel really good about him. And so your left side in general is just seemingly a lot better and a lot different and a lot more physical and a lot more athletic and bigger than it was last year.
That's the hope. And I think you did hit the nail on the head when you described a relationship between two men, one of which walks up behind the other and runs the hand through the undercarriage, as one that features subtle nuance. There's no doubt about that. Before we get out of here, we've had plenty of time for Ponton Pub, and he's going to get a little more. I guess he's deserving of it. But yes, let's make some time for a little Jado shine.